Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Friends, welcome to the Encounter program sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. I am your host, Mark Kimpland, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. We at Endwell, with many area churches around our community, across New York State and across the United States, have been blessed with a ministry that we've been a part of for now 4 to 5 years. And this ministry is called Rise Against Hunger. And we are planning a meal event on Saturday, May 14th. And I invited the person who will be with us during that meal packing event, Robert Whitaker, who is the New York, New Jersey area manager for Rise Against Hunger. Robert, welcome to the Encounter program.
Thanks, Pastor Mark. Pleasure to be here.
I couldn't wait to get this thing started, so let's get it rolling here. First, for those folks that are listening or watching, can you tell us a little bit about Rise Against Hunger? What is it? What is the ministry all about? Or maybe some history, just to kind of start our time together.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rise Against Hunger is an international humanitarian nonprofit. We're growing a global movement to end hunger, and we do that by nourishing lives, empowering communities, and responding to emergencies. We were founded in 1998 by a United Methodist minister and a Marine veteran named Ray Buchanan. Ray was driven by a vision of a world without hunger, and that's actually still the vision of the organization to this day. So we have 4 pathways that we use in our battle against hunger, and those are growing the movement, nourishing lives, empowering communities, and responding to emergencies. So we do that so that those in need today can get immediate relief, but also implement sustainable solutions that are going to lift these entire communities for the years to come.
So this movement, it was founded in 1998, you said. So we're talking Correct. 24 years then, something like that? Okay, yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. Great. Now, how do you do that? How does Rise Against Hunger do what it is we do? Because, I mean, your mission is lofty, to end world hunger. That and that should be everyone's mission, to end world hunger. How do you go about doing that, especially on a global level? I could see doing it in the community, maybe in the United States, but your vision is far greater than that globally. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which is zero hunger. But as I mentioned, we have our 4 pathways, and that's really what we try to follow to help those in need. So we have growing the movement, which we do in a variety of ways, through social media, through our meal packing events, through outreach and advocacy. But really what that's about is building that awareness and getting the message out to people, not only in this country, but around the world, that people are in need of food. Hunger is something that affects a little over 720 million people around the globe. That's about 10% or 1 in 10 people are considered hungry in this world. So we really want to build that awareness, make people aware that this is a problem, and give them some different ways that they can go about helping those in need. And then we have nourishing lives. That's that immediate need, which our meal packaging program provides. So we work with all sorts of groups, whether it's corporations, faith-based groups, civic groups, schools. I do some family events where people, have their birthday party, and instead of asking for presents, they ask for awesome. Some donations. But those meals get sent to school feeding programs, training facilities, health clinics, and hospitals, to give those people the daily vitamins and nutrients they need to live a healthy and productive life. And then the other pathway, empowering communities, those are our sustainability initiatives. So, they have that saying, teach a man, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach him to fish, he'll eat for his entire life. So those meals, they give them something to eat immediately, but these sustainability projects provide that long-term solution where they'll be able to lift themselves up and provide themselves food for years and years to come. These programs are all revolved around sustainable agriculture practices, climate smart agriculture. We do a little bit of microfinance and market access programs. And then finally, emergency relief. So we respond to man-made and natural disasters, both here in the United States as well as around the world. I'm sure most of the people listening are going to be familiar with the situation going on in the Ukraine at the moment. That's our most recent initiative that we're working on. We actually have an office in Italy, Rise Against Hunger Italia. And so what we are doing is we're providing them cash assistance, and they are putting together food kits as well as medical and sanitation supplies. And they're working with partners that we have on the ground in Poland and Romania to get those kits to refugees that are able to make their way over the border into those two countries. And that's just one example of the emergency relief that we do. We do this for a while, and still we're working in Haiti. They had, a rough couple years with earthquake, hurricane, some political problems that they had there. So those are just a few examples, but it's here in the United States as well as around the world. When there's an emergency, we try to do our best to respond to that emergency.
Yeah, that's always impressed me. I know the times that we have been a part of Rise Against Hunger. It's and people ask all the time, where's the food go? Well, it goes where it's needed, which is impressive. And to be able to be nimble enough and coordinated enough to do that is very impressive. As you were explaining those 4 pathways, I just want to go a little deeper in that if I could.
Yeah.
Is there any one of those 4 pathways that's a challenge, a more challenge than maybe the others, or maybe one of the pathways is easier than the others? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so every one of those pathways is going to have its own unique challenges and things that need to go to be overcome. But what we try to do here at Rise Against Hunger is work with partner organizations in these last mile communities, so that we're not doing it on our own, and we're not showing up in various places and saying, this is what you should do. We are working with people who operate on the ground in those countries, working with the local communities, so that we can find the solutions that best suit their needs.
Yeah.
So, the Nourishing Lives, where we're providing that immediate meal, that's pretty easy. Once the partners are established, it's easy to say to somebody, you're hungry, here's a meal. This will satisfy that hunger for today. I think it's probably a little more challenging to do those sustainability projects, because you have to build that trust first before they'll allow you to come in and start working on projects and start working with the local communities and leaders in that community to set them up for the years to come. So and then emergency relief, depending on what the emergency is, there could be restricted access or maybe no way to get to that community in the immediate. So we have to get creative. I know I think my first year being with the organization, we were actually able to get meals airlifted because of a mudslide, and there was no other way to get those meals there. So we had to work to figure out, all right, these people are in need. How are we going to get them the meals when there was just this massive mudslide that's restricting roads and things like that? So fortunately, we were able to find a partner who was able to airlift those meals in. So a long about way, they all have their own challenges, but those deeper ones where you're working on the long term rather than just the immediate need, I think had more challenges to them.
Well, I so appreciate that, because it's unique in many ways that it's multifaceted. That because many organizations are just, let's just get the money to where it needs to go, or let's just get this to where it needs to go. And I've always been impressed with the Rise Against Hunger, and it's got multiple ways in which it can make impacts in the world. Friends, we have as our guest this morning Rob Whitaker, who is the New York, New Jersey area manager for Rise Against Hunger. Can you talk a little bit about its impact? Your 24, 25 years as an organization, and I just want to share a little side note before you answer that, especially along the idea of growing the movement. Just to let you know, which may be helpful for the organization, my introduction to Rise Against Hunger, was through the United Methodist Church, through the Upper New York Conference, annual conference. The Rise Against Hunger came in. You signed up if you wanted to. Instead of eating dinner that night, you could work for 2 hours and pack meals, and it was a blast. It was awesome. And I said, I got to bring this back home. This is really good. So I wanted to put a feather in your cap for that. That was my introduction to it. But can you talk about its impact over the last 24 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, we were formed in 1998. We did not do our first meal packaging event until 2005. But since 2005, when the meal packaging program started, we've actually been able to serve 78 countries around the world. And within those 78 countries, we've packaged over 540 million meals. Just in 2021, we were able to engage over 85,000 volunteers, going back to your initial point where you were introduced. And really, the goal of this meal packaging program is, yes, we're doing good. We're feeding people that need these meals. But, at the end of the day, the volunteers that come out to participate in these events, you're giving up your time. You're giving up your energy to do this good work, to provide that impact. You might as well have a good time while you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
We have the music going. We bring our gong every time you hit a milestone. We ring the gong to keep you motivated, let you know the amazing work and the impact that you're providing. But then again, back to our impact. Last year, we were able to affect 2.7 million lives across the world. We provided over 15,000 metric tons of food, and that was through both our meal packaging program as well as local food procurement and other programs. As you can imagine, COVID kind of put a wrench in
My
our
next
process.
Yeah.
So we had to get a little creative with with folks not being able to come together, packaging meals. We had to find ways that we were able to either locally procure that or do bulk shipments of ingredients that we already had on hand. So through all those different ways, it came out to over 15,000 metric tons. The volunteers that we were able to engage in the meal packaging program packaged over 17 million meals. So for a total of, between locally procured and packaged meals, it was a little over 27 million meals that got distributed, and that was local, regional, international meals going out. We were able to provide a little over 29 million in donated goods, and that's primarily medicines and medical supplies. We do provide sanitation supplies and other things like that when we can for emergency relief. But all this impact was actually happened over 29 countries around the world.
So I'm sure the pandemic brought to it some interesting scenarios, but it sounds like in spite of it, despite of it, you moved on and you moved forward. Were the meal packing events, I'm sure, more of a challenge during the pandemic? How did you overcome that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, March of 2020, we were just as shocked as the rest of the world when COVID hit. And pretty much from March until, I believe, around August, September of that year, our meal packaging program was completely shut down. So we weren't able to package any meals. Luckily, We had our reserve of meals that had been packaged, in the months before that happened. So we were able to distribute those meals. But really, it was getting creative and figuring out how we could still provide that impact, because hunger wasn't going anywhere just because the global pandemic hit. In fact, it actually increased the number of hungry people around the world. So our work was more important than ever during the pandemic. So what we did was we went through our reserves. We obviously had bulk ingredients on hand because we were prepping for meal packaging events that didn't end up happening. So we were able to work with local partners to distribute that. I know just in my office alone, we sent 10 pallets, which each pallet is about 2,500 pounds of rice, to the community food bank in Hillside, New Jersey, to another food bank in the Bronx in New York. And then the organization as a whole, what we did is created some virtual opportunities for folks where we could still engage the groups that had been accustomed to putting on their meal packaging events or were new and wanted to learn more about Rise Against Hunger. So we had some cool virtual opportunities, which we still offer, but we were able to generate funds and use those funds to emergency relief and to that local food procurement program that I was talking about, because supply chains and logistics were all kind of grinding to a halt. So we had to work with those on the ground partners who would be able to access that and get the food to the people that needed it. And then once we started up again, it was, being as safe and careful as possible. We did socially distanced meal packaging events. So for your listeners that have never been able to experience a meal packing event, usually it's a group of anywhere from, 30, 40 people to a couple hundred people. You're in the room, you're having a good time, you're working together, you're getting to know the person that's working next to you and sharing in that impact that you're providing. So we lost a little bit of that, but we were still able to have fun, still able to come together. And even though you were 6 feet apart from the person that was next to you, at the end of the day, you still had that tangible impact looking at those Rise Against Hunger meal boxes and seeing the impact that you provide. And along those lines, for anybody that does get to participate in the meal packaging event, when you're packaging, or even at the end when you're looking at those boxes, I want you all to think about that every one of those boxes actually feeds a child for an entire year. That one box provides enough meals to give them one meal for every school day throughout the year. So however many boxes you see at the end of that event, that's how many children you've been able to impact just in the morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is that you were out there working.
Awesome. Friends, we're blessed to have Robert Whitaker as our guest, who is the New York, New Jersey area manager for Rise Against Hunger. Rob, what's your role in Rise Against Hunger? Can you kind of spell that out for us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the New York, New Jersey area manager, I'm part of our community engagement department. So really, as with a lot of nonprofits, we are jack of all trades. Yeah. But I operate our warehouse that we're located in Kearny, New Jersey, but we service New York, New Jersey, a little bit of Connecticut. So we have a pretty big territory. And we put on we facilitate. A big part of my job is facilitating the meal packaging events with our different partners, but also, building those partnerships with people in our communities and in our area, fundraising for our organization, because, the sustainability initiatives, the emergency relief that we do all requires funds to provide that impact. So really, really do a lot. I started with Rise Against Hunger in 2017. I'll be hitting my 5-year mark later this summer. But I started as a community engagement coordinator and worked my way up to the area manager. But really, we're the forward-facing department of the organization. We're the ones working with the volunteers to provide that impact, whether it's through, fundraising through meal packaging event, through virtual engagements, speaking engagements. We're happy to come out to schools, to faith-based organizations, Rotary clubs, whatever it may be. So we can provide that pathway of growing the movement and bringing that awareness and really advocating for those around the world that are affected by hunger. And we have 19 locations across the United States. So pretty much wherever you are around the country, we can find a way to put on one of our events in your area. I'm not sure if we've ever done one in Hawaii or Alaska, but if somebody in Hawaii wants to do it, I'd be happy to volunteer and go out and do that. But yeah, so we could do this all across the United States. We have international affiliates as well. So we have an office in South Africa, India, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Italy. So we can even do international meal packaging events. But that's really what my job focuses on, is packaging those meals, building relationships with our volunteers, spreading awareness about hunger and different ways that people can help out.
Yeah. Well, the timing couldn't be better because we'll be hosting Rise Against Hunger. The goal is to pack 20,000 meals on Saturday, May 14th. This show will air on the 15th, so you'll be heading to Endwell here very shortly as we record this on Thursday. How important are those events for what Rise Against Hunger does?
Yeah, they are extremely important. For a little context, I believe we did our first meal packaging event with you in 2017.
Yep.
Since then, the members of your congregation have packed over 50,000 meals. They've packed 50,328 meals to be specific. And those meals have been able to help people in Swaziland, Uganda, Haiti, and Madagascar. So, people in Endwell have been able to provide meals and provide positive impact to people's lives in 4 countries around the world. And, the beauty of these meal packing events is that you're coming together with your community, you're having a good time, you're providing that impact, but you're providing that impact to somebody you're most likely never going to meet.
Sure.
You're never going to see, you're never going to know their name, but in your heart that you just did some good for somebody else. You were able to provide that hot meal for somebody who probably went to bed hungry and is then waking up hungry that next day. And they can come to, whether it's their school, to the health clinic, whatever it may be. They know they can show up. There's a hot Rise Against Hunger meal waiting for them. And after that meal, they're able to have the energy to focus, have the energy they need to learn in school. So, a lot of these children, it's about 70% of our meals are going to kids under the age of 18. A lot of these children, this is the only meal they're going to have that day. And a lot of these children are walking miles to get to these schools in the first place. So, after that long walk, it's nice to know that they'll have a hot meal waiting for them.
Absolutely.
They'll be able to replenish. They'll be able to focus, get that education. And what that does is, it provides them the opportunity to be sustainable for themselves, for their communities, for their, entire country as a whole by going to school, getting that education, being able to have those opportunities to better their lives. Meals are important.
And it goes, as you say, it goes so much beyond just the meal. What that's able to do. As we wind down here, we still have a few minutes left. But how do people get involved? Can you kind of share some contact information or ways that people might be?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is riseagainsthunger.org. There's a lot of great information on the website of different ways that you can get involved. If you're interested in participating in one of these meal packaging events or hosting your own, there's a form on the website that you can fill out. You can, if you're in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is rwhitaker, WHITAKER, @riseagainsthunger.org. I'd be happy to have a conversation, let you know more about the work we do, how you can help out. But those social media, our tags are Rise Against Hunger. Right? We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all TikTok, I believe now, all the major social media platforms. So you could definitely find us out on there. But yeah, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to talk to you. We'd be happy to help you set up your own event or just give you information about how you can help out.
That's most helpful, and I would encourage our viewers and our listeners to reach out in any way possible through the ways and points of contact that Rob just shared with each of us. Rob, it's been a pleasure to work with you. You have always responded to emails and kind of directed us and led us to where we are today. So, and the people are very, very excited. And I know there's many area churches in the Binghamton, Broome County area that are doing meal packing events, and many of them started kind of when I started at annual conference and such. So it's amazing where one event can shape the lives of mission in our community and around the world. We've got just a minute or two left. I want to give you the last word. Any pearl of wisdom that you want to give as we wrap up here to our listeners and our viewers, if you want to take a minute or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first I want to say it's been an absolute pleasure working with you as well. I'm really looking forward to Saturday. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have a lot of fun. And we're going to provide 20,000 meals. That's 93 boxes, which is 93 children that now have a meal for a year. And just one last thing, if you can't make it on Saturday, or if you're listening, you're not in the area, that following week, the 16th through that Sunday, we actually have our Rise and Stride, which is our annual virtual 5K, 10K. I mentioned that a lot of the children who get our meals at the school feeding programs are walking miles a day to get to that school. So this walk race, it's a virtual 5K, 10K. You can find the information on our website, symbolizes the walk that these children make to get that meal. So you can come together in solidarity and do the walk that they do to school every day. But really, if you want to help out against hunger, reach out. There's many ways that you can do it, and it'd be a pleasure to speak with you all.
Awesome. Rob, this has been a ball, and I look forward to our time together in the meal packing event. Friends, our guest has been Rob Whitaker, the New York, New Jersey area manager for Rise Against Hunger. And Rob, I thank you for taking this time out of your day for joining us and getting the message out as the wonderful work that Rise Against Hunger is doing. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pastor Mark. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Fantastic. Brothers and sisters, I hope your day is blessed with peace and purpose. Be kind to one another and have an awesome day.
The Encounter program is just one ministry of the Broome County Council of Churches. You may know the council through its CHOW program, the Community Hunger Outreach Warehouse. But the council also supports chaplaincies, the jail ministry providing an effective witness pointing to God's unconditional love as a source of emotional and spiritual renewal for those who are affected by the criminal justice system. At Wilson and Binghamton General Hospitals, on-call chaplains provide confidential visits, support for family members, and advocacy with support personnel. In addition, the Council's Faith in Action ministry empowers people ages 60 and up to be involved in their community. This ministry mobilizes a network of volunteers to provide free social programs and care partnerships, and also supports the Ramp It Up program. You'll find much more at broomecouncil.net. That's broomecouncil.net.